In just 49 seconds, one of Britain's most beloved actors completely lost his temper on live television, unleashing a verbal assault that left the studio audience gasping in horror. What started as friendly banter between Graham Norton and Sir Ian McKellen spiraled into an absolutely explosive confrontation that ended with the legendary actor storming off set, vowing never to return. Before we dive into this shocking showdown, make sure you subscribe to this channel for daily videos exposing Britain's darkest scandals. Hit that notification bell because you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Last night's episode of The Graham Norton Show was supposed to be a celebration. Sir Ian McKellen, the 85-year-old acting legend known for his roles as Gandalf and Magneto, was there to promote his latest West End production. The red sofa was packed with other celebrities, the audience was buzzing with excitement, and everything seemed perfectly normal as the show began. Graham Norton opened with his usual charm, making jokes about the weather and poking fun at himself. The audience laughed along, completely unaware of the storm that was brewing. When he finally introduced Sir Ian, the applause was thunderous. The actor walked out with his trademark dignity, waving to the crowd with a warm smile that had endeared him to millions over his 6-decade career. "Sir Ian McKellen, ladies and gentlemen," Graham announced, gesturing to the legendary actor as he settled into his seat. "Now, you're looking absolutely fantastic. What's your secret? Is it the theater keeping you young?" Sir Ian chuckled. "Well, Graham, I think it's simply about doing what you love. I've been incredibly fortunate to spend my life on stage and screen, surrounded by wonderful people." The conversation flowed easily at first. They discussed Sir Ian's new play, a modern adaptation of King Lear set in a corporate boardroom. The actor spoke passionately about the production, explaining how Shakespeare's themes of power and betrayal remained relevant in today's world. Graham nodded along, occasionally interjecting with witty comments that kept the audience engaged. "So you're playing Lear as a CEO?" Graham asked, leaning forward with interest. "Precisely," Sir Ian replied. "It's fascinating how little has changed. The hunger for power, the blindness it creates, the way families tear themselves apart over inheritance. It's all there, in the modern workplace." "Sounds like my production meetings," Graham quipped, earning laughs from the audience. But then something shifted. Graham, perhaps sensing the conversation was becoming too serious for his format, decided to change direction. "Now, Sir Ian, I have to ask you about something that's been all over social media this week." Sir Ian's expression became slightly guarded. "Oh dear, what have I done now?" Graham grinned mischievously. "Well, there's been quite a lot of chatter about your recent comments regarding young actors today. You said in an interview that many of them lack proper training and rely too heavily on their looks rather than their craft." The audience went quiet. Sir Ian straightened in his seat, his demeanor becoming more formal. "I think you're oversimplifying what I said, Graham. My point was that classical training provides a foundation that serves actors throughout their careers. But you did say that Instagram followers don't make someone an actor, didn't you?" Graham pressed, clearly enjoying the controversial angle. "That's quite a strong statement." "It's also true," Sir Ian replied, his voice taking on an edge. "Social media presence and acting ability are two entirely different things. I stand by that observation." Graham leaned back, spreading his hands. "But surely you can understand why some people found that a bit harsh? I mean, the industry has changed. Young actors today have to build their brands online. It's just how things work now." "Building a brand," Sir Ian repeated slowly. "Is that what we're calling it? In my day, we called it acting. We went to drama school, we learned our craft, we worked in repertory theater for years before anyone knew our names." "Well, times change," Graham said with a casual shrug that seemed to irritate his guest further. "Not everyone can afford years at drama school. Some people get discovered on TikTok, and they turn out to be brilliant." Sir Ian's eyes narrowed. "Brilliant? Graham, have you actually watched these so-called discoveries? Most of them can barely deliver a line convincingly. They pout at the camera and call it character work." A few people in the audience gasped. Graham's smile became tighter. "That's quite dismissive of an entire generation of performers, isn't it?" "I'm not being dismissive," Sir Ian countered. "I'm being honest. There's a difference between popularity and talent, between viral content and genuine artistry. If that makes me old-fashioned, then so be it." Graham shifted in his seat, and there was a glint in his eye that suggested he was about to push harder. But isn't it a bit rich, Sir Ian, for someone who's made millions playing wizards in blockbuster films, to lecture others about artistic purity? I mean, those aren't exactly Shakespeare, are they? The atmosphere in the studio changed instantly. You could feel the tension rippling through the audience. Sir Ian's face flushed, and his hands gripped the armrests of the red sofa. "I beg your pardon?" Sir Ian said, his voice dangerously quiet. Graham seemed to realize he'd crossed a line, but instead of backing down, he doubled down. "I'm just saying, you've done plenty of commercial work yourself. The X-Men films, The Lord of the Rings. They're entertainment. They're not highbrow theater. So maybe you shouldn't be so quick to judge how others build their careers." "How dare you?" Sir Ian said, his voice rising. "How dare you compare my work in those films to what I'm talking about? I brought everything I learned from decades of classical training to those roles. I worked with Peter Jackson and Bryan Singer to create fully realized characters with depth and nuance. That's not the same as pouting for a camera phone and hoping it goes viral." "But it's still commercial work," Graham insisted, and there was something almost provocative in his tone now. "It's still about making money and reaching the widest possible audience. So I'm not sure what gives you the right to look down on young people trying to do the same thing." Sir Ian stood up abruptly. "The right? I'll tell you what gives me the right, Graham. 60 years of dedication to my craft. 60 years of studying, rehearsing, performing in drafty theaters for audiences of 20 people, perfecting my technique, learning from the masters who came before me. That's what gives me the right to have an opinion about the state of acting today." Graham remained seated, looking up at his guest. "Okay, but you're still being incredibly judgmental about people who are just trying to make it in a difficult industry. Not everyone has the privilege of spending years in repertory theater. Some people need to make money to survive." "Don't you dare talk to me about privilege," Sir Ian shot back, his voice shaking with anger. "I came from nothing. My father was a civil engineer. We had no connections in the theater world. I worked my backside off for every single opportunity I got. I didn't expect success to be handed to me because I had a pretty face or a popular social media account." The other guests on the sofa were frozen, unsure whether to intervene. The audience was completely silent, watching the confrontation unfold with a mixture of shock and fascination. Graham stood up now too, facing Sir Ian across the coffee table. "Well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe your generation made it unnecessarily difficult for everyone else. Maybe the fact that you had to suffer doesn't mean everyone else should have to as well." "Suffer?" Sir Ian's voice was incredulous. "Is that what you think dedication to craft is? Suffering? Learning your art properly is suffering? I think making young people feel like they're not good enough unless they follow exactly the path you followed is outdated and frankly it's elitist," Graham said. And there was real heat in his voice now too. Sir Ian took a step closer. "What's elitist is telling young people that they don't need to train, that they don't need to learn the fundamentals, that everything can be achieved through shortcuts and social media likes. You're setting them up for failure, and you're complicit in the dumbing down of an art form that has existed for thousands of years." "Oh, here we go," Graham said, throwing his hands up. "The dumbing down argument. Classic boomer rhetoric. Young people are ruining everything. The old ways were better. Get off my lawn." "Don't you reduce my concerns to generational stereotypes?" Sir Ian snapped. "This isn't about being old or young. It's about standards. It's about excellence. It's about respecting the craft enough to actually learn it before you claim to be a practitioner of it." Graham shook his head. "You know what I think? I think you're threatened. I think you see young, diverse actors getting opportunities and attention, and it bothers you because you had to wait so long for yours. It's jealousy dressed up as concern for standards." The audience gasped audibly. Several people in the front row looked at each other with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were hearing. Sir Ian's face went pale, then red. "Jealous? You think I'm jealous? Graham, I have 2 Olivier Awards, a Tony Award, multiple BAFTAs, and a knighthood. What exactly would I be jealous of?" "The attention," Graham said flatly. "The fact that a 2-year-old can post a video and get 10 million views in a day while you have to work for months on a stage production that maybe a few thousand people will see. That must sting." You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, Sir Ian said, his voice trembling with fury. I don't want 10 million views from people scrolling mindlessly on their phones. I want to move people, to make them think, to connect with them through the power of live performance. That's worth more than all the viral videos in the world. To you maybe, Graham countered, but not to everyone. Some people want to entertain in different ways, and that's valid too. Your way isn't the only way, Sir Ian. And the sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be. Happy? Sir Ian laughed bitterly. You think I care about being happy? I care about preserving something meaningful in a world that's increasingly obsessed with shallow, disposable content. But clearly, you're part of the problem. Graham's eyes flashed. Part of the problem? This is my show, Sir Ian. I've been entertaining millions of people for years. I've given platforms to all kinds of performers, traditional and modern. Don't you dare come on here and tell me I'm part of some cultural decline. Then perhaps I shouldn't be here at all, Sir Ian said coldly. Perhaps I've made a mistake appearing on a show that values cheap controversy over meaningful conversation. Oh, that's rich, Graham shot back. You're the one who started getting all high and mighty about young actors. I just asked you a question about your comments. If anyone's created this controversy, it's you. Sir Ian pointed a finger at Graham. You twisted my words. You deliberately misrepresented my position to create conflict. That's not journalism. That's not entertainment. It's just cheap, nasty manipulation. I asked you about something you actually said, Graham protested. You're the one who can't handle being questioned about your opinions. What did you expect? That everyone would just nod along and agree with you? This is a talk show, not a lecture hall. Clearly, Sir Ian said with withering disdain. Because if it were a lecture hall, there might be some actual intellectual rigor instead of this tabloid nonsense. The audience was transfixed. Some people had their hands over their mouths. Others were recording on their phones despite the no filming policy. Nobody moved. Graham's face was flushed now. You know what? Fine. If this show is so beneath you, if my questions are so terrible, then maybe you should leave. Sir Ian stared at him. Are you asking me to leave? I'm saying that if you're so uncomfortable being challenged on your outdated views, then perhaps you'd be happier elsewhere, Graham said. Outdated views? Sir Ian's voice rose. Having standards is outdated. Believing in excellence is outdated. What exactly are your views, Graham? That everything is equally valid? That there's no difference between trained skill and lucky accident? That we should just celebrate mediocrity because it's more democratic? I believe in giving people chances, Graham said. I believe in not gatekeeping. I believe that talent comes in many forms, and not everyone needs to follow the Royal Shakespeare Company route to be legitimate. And I believe in quality, Sir Ian shouted. I believe that some things are better than others, that some approaches produce superior results, that expertise and experience matter. But apparently, that makes me a dinosaur in your eyes. It makes you judgmental, Graham said. It makes you dismissive of people who don't fit your narrow definition of what an actor should be. My definition isn't narrow, it's rigorous, Sir Ian countered. There's a difference. But you wouldn't understand that because you're more concerned with being liked than being right. Graham stepped back as if he'd been slapped. What the hell is that supposed to mean? It means you're a people pleaser, Sir Ian said. You want everyone to feel good, everyone to be validated, everyone to get a participation trophy. But that's not how art works. Art requires discrimination, judgment, the ability to say this is good and this is not good. Without that, we have nothing but noise. You arrogant bastard, Graham said, his voice low and intense. You sit there in your ivory tower, looking down on everyone who doesn't meet your impossible standards, and you have the nerve to call me a people pleaser? At least I don't make people feel like shit for trying. Sir Ian's eyes blazed. If someone's trying to be an actor without bothering to learn how to act, then yes, they should feel uncomfortable about that. Discomfort is the beginning of growth, but you want to protect everyone from ever feeling bad, even if it means they never improve. Or maybe I just have empathy, Graham snapped. Maybe I remember what it's like to start out, to feel insecure, to worry that you're not good enough. Maybe I don't think the solution is to have people like you telling them they're right to worry. Empathy without standards is just enabling, Sir Ian said. You're not helping these young people by telling them they're fine as they are. You're handicapping them." Graham laughed harshly. "This is unbelievable. You come on my show, insult an entire generation, insult me, and somehow you think you're the hero of this story? The wise elder sharing hard truths? I think I'm someone who cares enough about theater to want it to survive," Sir Ian said. "Unlike you, apparently, who's content to watch it become just another branch of social media influencing." "That's it," Graham said, his voice sharp. "I've had enough. This conversation is over." "Good," Sir Ian said, "because I have nothing more to say to someone so committed to mediocrity." "Get out," Graham said, pointing toward the exit. "Get off my show." Sir Ian smiled coldly. "With pleasure. I should never have come on a program that values sensationalism over substance anyway." "The door's right there," Graham said. "Feel free to use it." Sir Ian straightened his jacket with dignity. "Oh, I intend to. And unlike some people, I'll exit with my integrity intact." He turned to the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that you had to witness this. I had hoped for a civilized discussion about the future of theater. Instead, I've been subjected to a series of personal attacks masquerading as interview questions. I think that tells you everything you need to know about the current state of British entertainment." "Are you done?" Graham asked icily. "Quite done," Sir Ian replied. He looked at Graham one last time. "You know, Graham, you could have been someone who elevated the conversation. Instead, you've chosen to be part of the race to the bottom. That's your choice. But don't expect me to participate in it." "Nobody's forcing you to stay," Graham said. "Indeed not," Sir Ian said. He nodded curtly to the other guests, who looked absolutely mortified, and began walking toward the exit. As he passed the audience, someone started to applaud. Then another person joined in. Within seconds, half the audience was clapping, though it was unclear whether they were supporting Sir Ian or simply responding to the drama of the moment. Sir Ian paused at the edge of the stage, turned back one final time. "By the way, Graham, in answer to your earlier question about what keeps me young, it's having principles. You should try it sometime." "Get out!" Graham shouted, his composure finally cracking completely. Sir Ian gave a small bow, then walked off the stage and disappeared through the exit door. The heavy studio door closed behind him with an echoing thud that seemed to punctuate the entire confrontation. For a moment, there was absolute silence in the studio. Graham stood frozen, his chest rising and falling rapidly, his face still flushed with anger. The other guests remained motionless on the sofa. The audience didn't know whether to applaud, boo, or just sit in stunned silence. Then Graham seemed to remember where he was. He smoothed down his suit jacket, ran a hand through his hair, and attempted a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Well," he said, his voice not quite steady, "that was unexpected." A few nervous laughs rippled through the audience, but the energy in the room had fundamentally shifted. What had been a fun Friday night show had become something else entirely, something uncomfortable and raw that nobody had been prepared for. Graham looked at the camera, then at his remaining guests, then back at the audience. "I think we need to take a quick break," he said. "We'll be right back." The red recording light on the main camera went off, and the studio erupted into chaos as producers rushed onto the set. Audience members started talking all at once, and social media lit up with clips that people had managed to sneak despite the rules. But Sir Ian McKellen was already gone, out of the building and into the London night, leaving behind one of the most explosive confrontations in British television history.